On the morning of October 2, 1918, 6 weeks before the end of the First World War, an American infantry battalion received orders to attack German positions in a dense forest in northeastern France. The forest was the Argonne, a 60-kilometer stretch of dense woodland that German forces had fortified for 4 years. The attack was part of the largest American military operation of the war. The 1st Battalion of the 77th Division, commanded by Major Charles Whittlesey, a 34-year-old Wall Street lawyer from New York City who had volunteered for service in 1917, was assigned a specific objective. They were to advance 1,500 meters through the forest, capture a road called the Charlevoix Ravine, and dig in for the night. They were warned that the units on their left and right would be advancing simultaneously. The 1st Battalion broke through the German lines at about 5 p.m. on October 2nd. Whittlesey led 600 men, including the headquarters company, 2 infantry companies of the 308th Infantry Regiment, and elements of the 307th Infantry. They reached their objective. They dug in. They posted sentries. They waited. The units on either side did not break through. The 77th Division headquarters, miles to the rear, did not learn that Whittlesey's force was alone behind German lines until late that night. By then it was too late to extract them. For the next 5 days, from October 2nd to October 7th, 600 American soldiers were surrounded 600 meters behind German lines. They were attacked continuously by German infantry, machine guns, mortars, and flamethrowers. They were shelled by their own American artillery, which did not know exactly where they were. They were ordered to surrender by a German officer who spoke perfect English. Whittlesey refused. According to legend, he replied with a single word. The actual word, recorded in his diary, was a polite military refusal. The legend has him saying "go to hell." The legend has stuck. They held out. By the time American forces broke through to relieve them on the evening of October 7th, more than half were dead or wounded. Of the original 600, 194 were able to walk out under their own power. The rest had to be carried. The Lost Battalion became the most famous American military story of the First World War. The men received 12 Medals of Honor and dozens of Distinguished Service Crosses. The story has been told in books, films, and museums for over a century. To understand the ordeal, you have to understand the geography. The Charlevoix Ravine where Whittlesey's men dug in was a natural depression in the heavily forested terrain. They had limited overhead cover. They could not see beyond the trees. Their food and water rations had been intended for 1 day, not 5. They had limited ammunition. They had a few medics but no proper medical facilities. The wounded lay in shallow holes scraped in the earth. The Germans, who quickly identified the trapped Americans, attacked from 3 sides almost continuously. They used flamethrowers, particularly devastating in the close-range combat of the trees. They used grenades thrown from above. They used machine gun nests positioned to enfilade the American positions. The Americans returned fire with rifles, machine guns, and grenades of their own. They had no way to call for reinforcement except through occasional contact with carrier pigeons. They had 8 pigeons at the start of the engagement. 6 were killed by gunfire or returned without delivering messages. One pigeon, named Cher Ami, became famous for his role in the story. On the morning of October 4th, after the American artillery had begun shelling the trapped battalion's position by mistake, Whittlesey wrote a desperate message. "We are along the road parallel to 276.4. Our own artillery is dropping a barrage directly on us. For heaven's sake, stop it." He attached the message to Cher Ami and released the pigeon. German riflemen shot at the bird. He was hit twice, losing a leg and being blinded in one eye. He continued flying. 25 minutes later he reached the American divisional headquarters at Rampont. The artillery was redirected. The friendly fire stopped. Cher Ami survived his wounds. He was transported back to the United States after the war. He died from his injuries in 1919. His preserved body, complete with prosthetic wooden leg, is on display at the Smithsonian National Museum of American History. The relief operation involved several units of the American First Army. They had been attacking continuously since October 2 to break through to Whittlesey's position. The terrain was difficult. German resistance was intense. Casualties were heavy. By October 7, when the lead elements of the 307th Infantry Regiment reached the trapped battalion, they had lost over 1,000 men in 5 days of fighting just to relieve them.